Good morning, students. This is Sampat Bhadu, Assistant Professor of English, Govt College, Shri Dungargarh, Bikaner. Today, we are going to take up the next poem, Woman to Man, penned by Judith Wright. Judith Arundel Wright was born in 1915 and died in 2000. She was an Australian poet, essayist, historical novelist, critic, environmentalist, and campaigner for Aboriginal land rights. Judith Wright specialized in philosophy, English, psychology, and history at the University of Sydney. Wright has garnered critical acclaim for concise, traditional verse in which she demonstrates an intellectual awareness of European and American literary traditions and vividly evokes the landscapes and lifestyles of Australia. Judith Wright was concerned about nature and adverse effects that modernity was going to have on nature. The present poem, Woman to Man, is about the fear of a woman in giving birth to a child. It clearly shows the psyche or the fear of a pregnant woman. The main idea of this poem is based upon female sexuality and sensuality, and that sex is symbolic of life or death if pregnancy fails. Wright was a prolific Australian critic who published more than 50 books. Judith Wright was also an uncompromising environmentalist and social activist, campaigning for Aboriginal land rights. She believes that the poet should be concerned with national and social problems. Now let's take up the text. The first stanza goes like this: The eyeless laborer in the night, the selfless, shapeless seed I hold, builds for its resurrection day, silent and swift and deep from sight, foresees the unimagined light. Dear students, here the poetess herself is pregnant with one of her children, and we find indirectly that her husband is also present there, whom she addresses this poem. The eyeless laborer in the night, the selfless, shapeless seed I hold. Seed here means the child that grows in her womb. She expresses her fear in giving birth to a child. The child is in her womb in the form of a fetus. She calls it an eyeless laborer because he is in the womb as a fetus and can't see. He is regularly moving and working for its development. Hence, it is a laborer. It is selfless, i.e., that is, it has no motive or interest for itself. It is shapeless as it has not developed into a child. The poetess holds shapeless seed in a womb. That means she is bearing the fetus which will develop into a fruit of a child. This fetus is the seed which is made of the essence of her husband and herself. It builds or develops into a child for the day when it will come out of the womb. That is, the child will take birth. The day of its birth will be Resurrection Day. That is, the day of new life in this world. It is silent, constantly moving, and deep from sight. It can't be seen physically, though it is very near. The child in the womb imagines the light of the outer world, which he will see after his birth. Here, the image of the day of the birth as a resurrection day is important in this respect. Just as the resurrection of Christ defeated death, so too does each individual's conception. Resurrection Day, the rebirth or revival of Jesus Christ. The next stanza. This is no child with a child's face. This has no name to name it by. Yet you and I have known it well. This is our hunter and our chase, the third who lay in our embrace. The poetess herself is pregnant with one of her children. She says that until the fetus takes the shape of a child and its face develops, it can't be called a child. It can't be given a name. It can't be addressed without name. Then she addresses her husband and says that he and herself know well that there is a new life to be born, though unnamed, in a womb because they both have created it. The poetess calls the unborn child their hunter and the chase. The child is hunter because it is the child that makes them active, thoughtful, excited, and busy in future preparations. They eagerly wait for him. Their aim of future target is their child. It will the third member of their family and share their embrace and caresses and affection. Next stanza. This is the strength that your arm knows, the arc of flesh that is my breast, the precise crystals of our eyes. This is the blood's wild tree that grows, the intricate and folded rose. The poetess addresses her husband and says that it is the strength of his arms that knows the roundness of her fleshy breasts. This line indicates sexual intercourse between her and her husband, which is an essential act to produce the child. Then she says that the child will be crystal of their eyes, that is, it will be very dear to them. She says that in a womb, blood's wild tree, that's the use of metaphor, that is, network of arteries and veins is growing. She means to say that very complicated structure of the fetus is developing into a child, and with his development, his veins and arteries also are growing. The child has been called an unfolded rose as it is in the form of an embryo. It will unfold when it will take birth or come out of womb. The development into a child is echoed in stanza 3. The man's arm provides the strength, the woman's breast, the shape of the flesh, the eyes will be a mixture of theirs. The last and the closing stanza This is the maker and the made. This is the question and reply. The blind head butting at the dark, the blaze of light along the blade. Oh, hold me, for I am afraid. Dear students, the poetess here says that the child in her womb is the maker and the made. It is made because it is the creation of parents, and it is maker as in future when he becomes a man, he also will create a new child. It is a question and reply also. It is a question till it takes birth. What is its color? How beautiful it is? How it looks? Are unknown, and hence the child itself is a question. It will be like a reply to all the questions and curiosities. The fetus is blind as it can't see in the darkness of the womb. It is striking its head against the walls of the womb. When it takes birth, the blaze or the light of the blade may disturb it. The poetess here is afraid of giving the birth to the child. She asks husband to hold her as she is afraid to think of it. This poem clearly exhibits the psyche or the fear of a pregnant woman. And here, the blade symbolizes a disconnection between the mother and the child, simply because the blade at the time of delivery disconnects or cuts the umbilical cord that has the only connection between the mother and the child in a physical form. That's all for today, and have a nice day. Thank you for watching this video.